we have talked enough. It is officially time to install our solar.
So we're going to watch the backing up capabilities of Ryan. So I'm going to do everything I can to say he's good.
Welcome back. If you saw last week's video, we went over the system and why we picked what we picked and some other options if you're looking to get a solar system. But in this video, we're putting it on and to the test right out of the gate. As you know, we've partnered with Big Beard Batteries for our solar build, Todd and the team. We also use the NRVTA, part of the solar class, to do the install as well. So if you're looking to learn more about solar or just your RV in general, make sure and check out the National RV Training Academy. They have an online course. They have the fundamentals class, which is great for owners. You can learn about solar. Pretty much anything you want to know about RVs, you can learn right here. So with that being said, let's go talk a little bit about what the game plan is for the build before they start ripping my RV apart. All right, so you guys are currently sitting in our pass-through storage, and the initial thought was we were going to get one of these walls and completely take it out and maybe rebuild it and try to reclaim some space back there. That unfortunately is not going to work because of how the plumbing in the 44V14 Valor is, which is perfectly fine. We were trying to move the weight a little further back if we could help it. Because of the size of our system, it's going to weigh a little bit. And so anytime we could push the weight back towards the axles because we have a little more capacity back there, we were going to try and do that. Unfortunately, that's not going to work, but we have a really cool build out. So let me show you where we're attempting to put everything, at least at the moment. Okay, so where is the solar system going to go? So obviously we have our front cap here, and then we have our 3 big bays here, which are going to be retrofitted, and this is where the solar system is going to live. Obviously we have our generator right there. It's not going anywhere. That's officially becoming our backup system. That right here is currently our 100 amp hour lithium energy battery. That's going to be coming out. And then up here in the top section, you have our current charge controller, and then behind that little black wall right there is our hydraulic system for our levelers. So the inverters, the MPPT charge controllers, and the Link Smart Shunt, all that stuff is going to go up here. We're actually going to build a really cool display for it. And the batteries are going to go down here. Again, this is all subject to change. Now we do have to work around that little guy, which is our actuator. That's what controls our disc brakes from the truck when we're driving. So that can't go anywhere. That's got to stay put. But that's the idea at the moment. And we're going to have to rewire some things and some cool stuff going on when the install process gets there. So that's the game plan for now. And yeah, we're going to get into it. Good morning and welcome back. It is the second full day of the build. So what got done yesterday? So, and I can't speak for every solar install, but for when you come to the NRVTA and you go through the class and do the install, you normally have the first full day is more theory with a little bit of ideas on the solar build that you're going to be doing, assuming there is one. Day 2 is really get everything prepped. So if any other parts need to be made, like backers, woodwork, anything else to support the idea of the system, make sure everything measures and dry fit a little bit. So you normally don't get a lot of progress on the first day, and that's why you didn't see a whole lot. But we are now officially between day 2 of the solar build, day 1, day 2, day 1 yesterday, day 2 today, but day 3 of the class. So I'm going to talk about the build specifically because they only did theory. So a lot of our stuff's been dry fit, and there's a few more little nicks and knacks that have to go in. But once this stuff starts going in and staying there, then cabling starts and a lot of that. So what will then happen is the pace will dramatically pick up. There's a whole lot of prep work to get to that point. But then once that happens, you start to move quite a bit faster. So let me show you what's been done so far in the build. Okay, here is the storage base. And as you can see, we now have pretty much everything full. So we are going to have 3 of the 24 volt Big Beard batteries. You see the 2 there. There's another one on the side right there. And then up above, you have essentially the actual inverter setup. Now, it's not completely done. So you have our dual quattros split. There's one of the 2 MPPTs up there in the corner. There's going to be another one to the left of it once we get there. And then kind of hanging out down there at the bottom, you actually see the 2 Victron Orions. Those are DC to DC converters. We did 2. They both are rated at 70 amps. And so that's because the Lippert 1 control has a tendency to jump up pretty hard. So we're going to run 2 in parallel and then a battery connect. The bar across the bottom is the Lynx distribution panel. So that's going to be for the 24 volt system. That is not staying there. It's actually going to go up above. So it's just sitting there for the time being while they dry fit cables and start doing cable management and all of that stuff. So in a nutshell, that's what's going on. In addition to that, they have also started to dry fit solar panels to the roof. So once that gets done, it still needs to be kind of officially done, and then panels will start going on as well. That will probably happen today or possibly tomorrow. Now, back here in the actual solar classroom, what does that mean that's on tap today? Well, obviously, they're doing education stuff. So they're going to do a little bit of work in here this morning, and then when they get back on the build, my understanding, at least from yesterday, at least the game plan, unless it's changed, is they're going to do all the cable management stuff, start working on the transfer switch because we have the generator, and start running cabling up for the GX Touch, which is the little touchscreen display that'll be inside the coach. All right, well, we're under the pin, and I figured I'd give you a quick midday update. So we're kind of in that stage where still prep a bunch of stuff, but we made a few changes to how the system is going to look. We're missing the middle panel because they're getting ready to wire that up. And then we've gone ahead and taken all the paneling off, so you're starting to see the guts of the Quattro. The Lynx distribution panel, instead of going up there, is now going to go here. And everything else is going to be squared away. The other thing they've done is we now have, if I can get there we go. The other thing we've done is there are now battery cables and different connection cables that are all starting to take place. So everything's starting to get laid out here nicely, and then what will happen is this afternoon they're going to come through and really start putting a lot of this stuff together. We're probably not going to have power today from the solar system, but we're going to get close, I think. All right, well, it is the end of the second full day of the build, and I spilled mustard on my shirt from making a sandwich at lunch, so now I'm in a different shirt. So let's talk a little bit about what's going on behind me. All right, so up in the main bay, it doesn't necessarily look like there's a lot more going on, but there is. So I know we're missing 2 of the panels. There's a lot of cabling here. There is, all the cables have been built. Some of them have been installed, so we are getting closer. And then down in this bay, there's been a lot of change. So you saw the 2 batteries here. We're going to touch this up. We had to build this frame to kind of hold everything in place. They have been connected. We're going to clean the wires up a little bit. And then on top of that, over here in the corner, I know it's a little darker, so I'm sorry. Those are our 2 DC to DC converters. So because we have a 24 volt battery, I need to take the 24 volt down to 12 volt. And we have 2 because they're 70 volts a piece. And our ground control or our leveling jacks can get a little bit power hungry and like slides and those types of things. So you do 2 of those to kind of offset it. And then we have a battery protect off of that step down. So it's been a great day, a busy day. One thing when you're installing solar that I would like to note is that it might not always go exactly according to plan. So just kind of big deep breath and figure out a solution, because things have changed on this. Things have changed with the solar panels up on the roof, but we're going to start putting panels down tomorrow, and we're going to get a lot of this hooked up there. So there's a chance we could go live tomorrow, and then Jeremy, who's leading the class, is going to program. So that's going to do it for us for tonight, and we will see you guys tomorrow on day 3. Well, good morning. It is the last day of the build. I know this has been a kind of hard and fast install because it's a school and they're teaching. It's a little harder to show you every little thing and every little step. That's not really what this whole video was meant to be, but what's going on today? They don't have much more to go. Jeremy said they're about 90% of the way yesterday. So, all right, so in the build, pretty much everything's wired up. They do need to do the communication cables for the servo. They need to do the PV cables into the MPPTs from the solar panels. And then down here, a frame was made. Everything's pretty much up. It's just a matter of connecting positive things, making sure that the panels up on the roof are completely sealed and done and secured, and then pretty much connecting everything and hitting power, which is really cool. The other thing that needs to happen is Jeremy will have to go in and program the inverters to work in the manner that we need to. And then I need a refresher course on where to find everything in the GX Touch, which I know I remember most of it, so I don't need a lot. I just need a few reminders on where to find a particular few things, and I'll show you what those things are because they're super important to maintaining your system down the road and making sure that some of your numbers are accurate. After all of that is said and done, it is officially finished. I'd like to say a huge thank you, not only to Todd and the team at Big Beard Batteries for helping us put this thing in, but also the team of Jeremy and everybody else associated here at the National RV Training Academy, as well as the students. To be completely honest with you, the students did a lot of that work along with Jeremy and some other people. So let's show you the final system. All right, as you can see, we have 3 of the 300 amp hour 24 volt Big Beard batteries. 1, 2, and then third is up there kind of on its side. Now that everything kind of has its place, this big old bad boy here, this is the Lynx distribution and shunt. It's a smart system. It connects back to the servo, which will go inside here in a second. You also have 2 MPPTs, 150/70. So those control all of the solar panels up on the roof. We did end up with about 2,700 watts up on the roof. Funky shape. There's some stuff going on up there. We were hoping to get about 3,000 or so. Ended up at 27, so that's not bad. And then you have dual Victron Quattros at the 24 volts. So they can handle a 5,000 cranking amp per side and a consistent at about 4,000. So better safe than sorry. You have about 8,000 watts of inverted power. Yeah, every once in a while you can push it up around 10. So, and then the generator, which we've had for a while, is our NPS 550, which is a Yamaha engine inverted, and that is also dialed in. Last but very not least, over here in the corner, we have our DC to DC converters and a battery protect inline just to kind of keep everything in check on that front. All right, well, so it is a couple of days later after the installation process. Hopefully you enjoyed that kind of quick look at how it went in through the NRVTA and everybody over there. And before I dive into kind of our consumption things, I want to say a huge shout out to all the students, Jeremy, the lead instructor, everybody, the TAs, everybody that had a hand in the build. I just want to say a humongous thank you. You don't know how much we appreciate putting up with me. Plus all of the solar install stuff. I know that getting the panels in place was kind of a pain because, well, it's an RV. They're always kind of a pain. But with that being said, I wanted to wait a few days, run the system through a couple of times, make sure everything's working properly, and focus on that before I left. So we have done that. It is the Monday following. I'm back in Fort Worth. Lauren's gotten to see the system a little bit, but what I want to do now is kind of start off today. So I want to start off today by going through as many consumption things as I possibly can so you can get an idea of what it looks like. And I've already been running stuff on the batteries most of the day. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about some consumption and kind of set the stage for you so you understand where I'm starting from. So we've been up since about 6 this morning. At about 6:30, I went ahead and threw the panel. It's about 8 a.m. right now. So what have I done so far? Well, one of the ACs has already kind of started to kick on. We have a high of 91 here in Fort Worth today, so we're going to be running all 3 ACs more than likely. And I've been using nothing but battery power. So the sun is starting to come up, and I wanted to do this way because I wanted to see the tangible how much actual solar we're bringing in. We do have a couple of pretty shady spots because we just jam panels where we could. And when the sun comes up and does some things, obviously straight above us would be great, but sometimes shadows are cast like from the AC shrouds, that kind of stuff. So what have we done so far? Let's go and take a look. Okay, so kind of normal morning. Again, we are off at the pedestal. And I've done a couple of things that have been power-hungry things. And I say that, we've been descaling our Keurig, so that's run way more. Plus, we both had a couple of cups of coffee, so that's been on a lot. And anything heat-related and compressor-related has a tendency to get pretty bad. I made breakfast. I made bacon. It's still right there. I haven't eaten it yet. But let's look at some of our consumption stuff. Also, Lauren took a shower, so we had the electric water heater on. I kind of forgot about that. When we do this, we typically will switch over to gas. But let's look at our GX Touch here real quick. So you can kind of see what we're working with so far. So right now we only have about 269 watts coming in, spread across the 2 lines. We are inverting. You can see there's no shore power there. We're only bringing 140 watts at the moment as far as the solar panels. That is simply because it's early and the sun's not up yet. We've used we're at 95% of our battery. So we've used 5% of the battery power. I will say you do have to sync this every so often just to make sure your percentages are right. So we've only done it twice. So I like to do it 3 to 5 times before I really start trusting that number. So I will tell you voltage, we're at 26.4. If you're a technical person, that'll make more sense. And if you notice our DC power draw right here is 231 watts. And I'll explain why. And that's actually low for the moment. It typically lives around 400, and I'll explain why in just one second. All right, so let me just start by saying there is our panel at the moment. So we're at 260 watts. Let's run over here. Yeah, I actually turned that off so I could talk to the camera. So we're going to let that kick on, but I'll let you see it. Now, we do have easy starts on all of these. So you can see when it kicks on, there is a little bit of a delay because the system has to read it. So there's the AC just kicked on. So you see it went up to 544. It'll even pop up more. There you go, 1152. So it went up about 800, 900. Now we're closer to 1,000 watts on line 1 with just our main AC. Now we're at 1,300. So what happened is the compressors kicked on, and now it's kind of starting to level off, and that's the easy start. It takes 30 to 45 seconds for it to really, truly all the way kick on. So the AC's on, so if you can't hear me as well, I'm sorry, but our line 1 with our main AC was running just over 1,000 watts. So there was 100 to 200 residual watts before that kicked on. Our air conditioners, and this is important to note, we have the Coleman Mach Q 13.5. That's the standard AC that all alliances have. So it's not the 15K BTU. It's not the new Cube that's more like a mini split that Big Truck Big RV's been testing. It is the more generic Coleman unit. There are the direct dumps, all that stuff. So we have not changed anything with the exception of we added easy starts to them. All right, well, it is about 11:30. We've been running all 3 ACs for a minute. So just so you know, we are running actively all 3 air conditioners. So let me flip you around and show you the panel and what we're looking at consumption-wise and where we stand. All right, back to the panel. So you can see we are running all 3 air conditioners. We still have no shore power, which makes sense. The AC load is currently at 3,000, a little over 3,500 watts. It's been fluctuating right around that mark now for a while. If you notice, we're still at 74%. So we've been that way for a minute. This morning when I showed you initially, we were in the upper 90s. We did drop down to 74 as air conditioners started to turn on, but now the sun is coming up pretty significantly. I mean, it's not quite 2 o'clock, and we are always going to have a little bit of shading because of air conditioners and all that and the panel placement, which we understood when we did that. But if you look, we're bringing in, at the moment, between 1,600 and 1,700 watts. That's going to fluctuate and bounce around a little bit. That will get better as the sun goes directly over the top of us. We did put 2,680 watts on the roof, so just shy of 2,700. So obviously, once the sun goes straight up and down, we'll get maximum. Also, we have a few things DC power-wise running, so we have 717 watts coming in. So you can see, though, we're still sitting at 74%. So a lot of it, this will go down a little bit more because we're only bringing in that 1,650 to 1,700 watts. And our load at the moment is going up because it's getting hotter outside. So obviously it's going to start to fluctuate a little bit more now. But yeah, we really haven't been, we're not doing anything different. And that's the magical thing about why we did this system, is to stay off grid for long periods of time. And this is RVing the wrong way. I mean, it's going to be 92 here in North Texas today. So it's, when you RV the right way, so like let's say you're up in the Midwest right now, because that's where we're going to be here in a little bit. You know, the high is like 74, 75 in Elkhart. And so we're going to be at an RV park. Well, we're going to be at the Elkhart County 4-H grounds for the Alliance National Rally. We do have full hookups, but we don't need them. And so that's kind of the magical thing. As we make our way north through the evenings and all that stuff, we should be able to act as normal, even though we're not necessarily plugged in. May have to use our generator just to top off a little bit here and there, but that's why it's there. So see you this afternoon for another little update. Well, I forgot to do a little update around lunch, so I'm sorry, but it is now about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I wanted to kind of show you where we stand. All right, here we are again. So, again, I've yet to be on the pedestal. We're running 3 ACs at the moment. That's not true. We're running like 2 ACs, maybe just 1. So we're sitting at 54% or 26.5 volts, which is pretty good. This is not the most we've seen on the charger. Right around 12 to about 2. We were sitting around 21 to 2200 watts coming in. So we were really offsetting. In fact, right now you can see we're only pulling 897 watts between our 2 lines. And so you can see we're actually charging the batteries right now. So we're putting 641 watts back into the batteries. And DC power is not using much at all, 76, 123. So it's fluctuating a little bit. And then the AC load because of the AC. So this is actually not too bad. It's going pretty efficiently, and we're actually charging the batteries, which is amazing. And I will say, sorry, I have the air conditioners on because, well, it's hot. It actually is going to get up to about 94 today is what we're sitting. So the fact that we're sitting here at 94 degrees and the rig is very comfortable. We're 75 across the board for the most part. Maybe it might pop up to 76, 77, but then the ACs bring them back down. So it's been really good. The one thing we have to kind of consider, and this is about the time of the day I start looking at it, because we're sitting at 54%, at some point I will probably need to flip on the breaker to charge up a little bit. I like to have the charging done by the time we go to bed, and the reason why is because where we put the inverters, when they charge, they can get pretty hot because they're pushing a lot of watts through them, a lot of amperage through them. So the inverters have a tendency to get a little warm. And I don't like the idea of leaving one of my storage bays open all night, so I like to be able to close it. So I kind of time out when that happens, and that's here. Now, when we'll judge that based on where we're at. Now, if we're boondocking in the middle of nowhere, I'll just leave it open because we don't have much of a choice in that scenario. But when we are on shore power, it does take quite a bit. Hey, we're back again. I know this is like instantaneous for you, but it's odd for me because, yeah, we keep flying around. But it is time for our 5 o'clock update. It's actually like 5:02. But I do want to look at it. We are at the point where I do need to flip the breaker back on. This is also where if we were boondocking, I would just turn the generator on. So either or, where we have a panel, so I'm going to use that. Let me flip you around and show you where we're at so far and kind of some of the things we've consumed. Okay, we do have 2 ACs on at the moment. I believe the Toy Hauler Space one and then the main living one is definitely on. But as you can see, we are at 37% or 25.9 volts. The DC power, we're consuming 430 amps. We're down to about 1,100 to 1,200 on the solar, watts coming in on the solar.
And the AC's been right around 25, 70. So that's the current status. So what does that mean? Well, for us, I've done some things. So all 3 ACs have been on. We are officially up to 94 degrees here in Texas, North Texas. So all 3 ACs have been on for quite a while now. They've been running pretty hard. The bedroom one has been cycling on and off here recently, but a few hours ago it was firing up a little bit more. We are not typically up in the bedroom. I'm in the toy hauler space a whole lot because that's where my office is, and the dogs are in here, so most of the warmth is in the living room and the toy hauler space at the moment. The other thing we did is I used the microwave a little bit for about 2.5 minutes. I microwaved a little snack, and so that used a lot, and we did that while all 3 ACs were running. The other thing I also did is I cleaned the Keurig. You wouldn't think that's a big thing, but I had to descale it, and I ran 2 things of a mixture of water and vinegar through it, plus about 2 more vats, whatever you want to call the little reservoir thing, of regular water, just to clean it out. So because of that, it's like a coffee pot. So again, the heater. So I really have just lived. I have not changed anything. I've actually used more power than I normally probably would have because I want to test this. So let's go turn the panel on and see what's going on and wrap this thing up. Okay, and I'm going to show you another kind of cool thing that about our solar system. So here's our panel. Watchdog is off. I'll flip it on in a second, but you know, your power watchdog or any EPO you have will make sure the power is good before it sends to your coach. Well, because we don't have an automatic transfer switch anymore, our inverters act as that. So when I flip this on, you'll hear it click. So that click was the watchdog. Sorry, the camera got squirrely. And so if I come back up here now to the battery system, you can see it still says inverter on. In a minute, yeah, there he goes. And now the inverter is off in bulk. So what's happening now, it's hot, I ran back inside. So what's happening now is when you hear that click, it's switched just like that in whatever Todd said, a 16th of a second or whatever the transfer rate was, from using the batteries to using the shore power. But the inverters do its own little check before it actually does it. So now I'm getting my power check twice before it comes in. Okay, back at it. So you can see our AC load, it's jumped up about 31,000. That's just the consumption side. DC power is actually down, well, 125, 130. It's fluctuating right now. But you can now see in the top left corner, it says shore power. And that's 6,430 watts at the moment, reasonably even between both legs. The PV charger, you can also see, is at 1,125-ish watts. That's fluctuating. The sun's starting to go down, so we're starting to see some shading from our AC shrouds onto the panel. So, you know, we were pulling in almost 2,000 around noon, but now it's you know, taking a little bit more. Now, one thing that is really cool, because we are putting on, at the moment, almost 4,000 watts between shore power and the solar panels, we're already up to 37%. So we will see that spike here pretty fast. So again, the reason why you see that move so quickly is because not only are you putting shore power into it, you're also putting the solar panels into it, and then the shore power is also powering everything else. So it's spreading things out and being smarter than I am to do that. Remember, I'm turning this on. I probably could have gone a little bit longer. You can take these down to about 10% before the inverters start to get annoyed with it. You really want to, about 15-20%, you really want to start looking to get it back up or shedding loads, one of the two. So with that being said, we are traveling. You guys are seeing this video, and then you're seeing a modification video that we shot a few weeks ago. And then you'll see some more solar and some more things, because we are headed to the Alliance Rally. I know it'll be in the past, actually be actively going on when you see this video. But we're going to head there, and we, of course, are going to boondock all the way up. So make sure and check out those videos, because we're going to kind of show you the boondocking along the way and the power consumption. We will continuously call back to the power consumption. Oi! Okay. With that being said, I'm going to go edit a podcast now. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you have not subscribed, please do so. We would really, really appreciate it. It helps get everything out. Also, if you watch or listen to the RV Shenanigans podcast, you can obviously find that on all your major podcast platforms, but it does have its own YouTube channel now. So make sure and go over to RV Shenanigans podcast and hit subscribe. That link will be down below in the description. Thank you guys so much, and a big thanks to Todd and the team at Big Beard Batteries for helping us get this mammoth thing installed. We'll see you next week. Bye, Mom.